Hey, what's up guys, it's Theo from Fino Concept. So today we are going to create this simple letter cover design in Adobe Photoshop. So let's just get started. Welcome to Fino Concept. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Alright, so I'll go ahead and open up my application. As always, I'm using Adobe Photoshop CC 2019. But 2020 and 2021 should work just fine. So I'll click on Create New right up here, and I'm going to set my width and height to that of an A4. So I'll just select it from one of these presets, just go to Print, A4 and click on Create. Now once I have this, I'm just going to be creating a bunch of random shapes just to fill up some certain spaces. So the first one is going to be the rectangle, so I'll grab the rectangle tool. You can use U on your keyboard, that's the short key. And I'll just create a rectangle like so, and I'll place it somewhere. I can use the move tool, V on the keyboard, just resize it to however I feel comfortable with. And I think I can just place it somewhere up here and just click on OK. Now I'm also going ahead to rotate it by an angle, so let's just bring our mouse cursor over here. You notice that it turns into this rotational arrow, and I'll be able to rotate it to whatever angle I feel comfortable with. I'll go with about 45 or 40. 45 is, you know what, I'll go with actually 30 and just hit on OK up here. And I'll also position it somewhere around here. I think looks okay. You can also just resize to make it fit whatever work you are working with. So I think something like this is cool, and I'll click on OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create an inner stroke so that it doesn't, just for the design. So with the rectangle selected, I'll go to FX and I'll click on stroke. Now once I'm in here, I'll set the stroke position to inside and I'll select any specific color I want. So you know what, let's just go with red for this one, and that is not what you are going to be using, but I just want you guys to see what I'm doing. So I think red color is cool, and I'll increase or decrease it to whichever size I'm comfortable with. I'm okay with 100 pixels, so that is what I'm going with. But like I said, I'm not going with this exact red color, so I'll click on OK. What I'll be using is one from actually my logo. So you know what, let me just click and drop and drag. Let me just click and drag and drop it here, and I'll position it somewhere around here, should be just fine. So I'll sample that red color using the eyedropper tool. The short key is I on your keyboard, and it should be this first one here. So I'll just select it or sample that, and you can see that my foreground color changes to that. So what I'm going to do is I'll go back to the rectangle, making sure that it's still selected, and click on FX to go back into stroke, and I'll select that fill color from the stroke. So I'll select it from here, and what I'll do is I'll just sample it from my initial color and click on OK and click on OK. So I'm already comfortable with this. I'll just use the move tool to reposition it, because if you take a closer look, you can see that it is being, it's not nice over here. So I just want to send it to the top just a little bit so that it doesn't show as much. I think this is looking cool. I'll use my zoom key to fit it back to screen. And another thing is I actually don't want this to be black all in. And since I was using the black color, I'll just double click, since it's a shape, I'll double click on this thumbnail and change it to white, and this is looking okay. Let me just make it a ton smaller. I think something like this should be just fine. Now you can create as many of this as you want, but I'm only going to be using two. So I'll create a duplicate, holding down Ctrl, I'll press J, and that creates a duplicate for me. So the second one I'm going to have somewhere around here, and I'll shift it to the side like so. So I get something like this. I think this is looking cool. Now once I have these, I'm also going to be adding in a bunch of other text. So you know what, let me just select my logo and make it a ton smaller. So I think somewhere around here should be just fine. Now let's grab the title and type in some few things. So the name of the company is going to be Fino Concept. Let me make these ones capital letters. And as always, I'm going with the font, the Gotham font, and probably select the bold version, and I'll place it somewhere around here. I'll also increase the size to about 18. Yeah, I think 18 is looking okay. Or probably let's make it 24. Now I see that they are a bit closer to each other, so I'll go into window, click on character, and the character option should pop up here. what I'm going to do is the distance between the top text and the lower text, I'm just going to change it to auto so that it just sets it for me automatically. So once I have this, you can also have your slogan at the bottom, but that is totally dependent on you. I'm just going to leave this as blank. And I also have a website, so I can just add it in there, www.phinoconcepts.com. I really should update this. So I'll set it to probably the light version, and I'll make the size also smaller. Probably 12 points should be okay, and I'll just place it somewhere around here. But I'm not going to be leaving this as blank, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be drawing lines around it to make it stand out just a little bit. So I'll select the line tool, just right click on any of the shapes tool and select the line tool. The fill color is set to this red. I'm actually going to select it to a blacker color, so looking nice and dark. And the weight is set to 1 pixel. I'm not so sure, probably let's go with 3 and see how it looks. If it doesn't look any good, I'll just change it up. Now you can see that once I stretch it out, I'm not getting the exact angle I want. I want a horizontal line, so I'll hold down the shift key so that the line keeps itself at a 0-degree angle. So something like this is looking okay. I think the 3 pixel is too much, so what I'll do is I'll actually reduce it to probably 2 or 1 and see how that is looking like. So let me stretch it out for the second time and see. Yeah, I think 2 is looking much better. So I'll delete the first one, and what I'll do is I'll actually duplicate this one that is shape 2 using Ctrl J, and I'll place that one on top like so, whilst holding down the shift key so that it also moves 90-degree angle without changing. So let me go ahead and save this up. So once I'm done with this, there are a couple of things I also need to be adding. You know what, let me go ahead and group this so that I don't confuse myself somewhere in the future. So I'll hold down the Control key, making sure that I select all the layers I want to group. Hold down the Control key one more time and press G, so G for group, and I'll call this probably background. And once I'm done, I think this is also looking okay. So I can also select all of these, Control G, and call them header. I think that is looking okay. So I'll create another group, the second icon from the right down here, and I'll call this name. And once I'm done, I'm just going to create another rectangle. So I'll go back to the rectangle tool and create a rectangle like so, whilst holding down the shift key so that I get a perfect square. So I think something about this big is just fine. Now let's place it at a place that is much comfortable. I think somewhere around here should be just fine. So this is what I'm going with. Now I also want it to look a little bit with some red stroke on it. So that rectangle selected, go into FX, click on stroke. This time around, I'm not going to set the stroke to 100 pixels, so I'll reduce the size to, I think about 10 should be just fine. At least with this, it looks like the logo. So I'll click on OK, and if you look closely, you can see that the logo is not entirely black, but this one is. So I'll just double click and sample that specific color from the logo so that at least everything looks uniform. Alright, so once I have this, I'll just grab the type tool and just type in my name. So that is going to be Mr. Diolabi, and probably the position I hold, so I'll say creative director. I think this is looking okay, and I'm going to highlight the top text and actually use the bold version so that at least it looks a lot better than, yeah, it just stands out a little bit more. I'm also going to increase the size to about 16 or 18 points. I think 18 is a little bit too much, so I'll go with 16, and I'll rather reduce this to about 10. Let me see what we have here. So this is 12 points. I'll also make this 12 points, at least just to make it look nicer. So I'm actually going to make this a bit bigger so that it can accommodate what I had in there. So I think this is looking cool. Let's fit this to screen and see what we have so far. Alright, so let's create a duplicate for the rectangle. So Ctrl J. I create duplicate because it's quite annoying if you have to create the exact same thing. It might not even be uniform and use the exact same effect on it. So just creating a duplicate is much simpler. So what I'll do is I'll bring this outside the group called name, and I'll create an individual group for it, so Control G, and I can call this probably location. And what I want to do is I actually even want to duplicate this as well, so Control J, and I'll bring that also down, and I'll also put it in the location grid. Now the reason for this is I wouldn't have to go through changing the font color and changing the font size and the font style. I can just type in whatever I want in here and it's going to affect it, just like what I have at the top for me. So for the location, let's just go with Tapa, or probably let's make it Kaswa, Ghana, and this is going to be Big Apple, Accra. Yeah, I think this is looking nice. So let's zoom out a little bit and see what we are working with. And the last thing is also going to be another information, probably the subject. So I'm also going to duplicate this. You can use Ctrl J or just click and drag and drop onto the second icon from the right. I actually call the other one the second icon. It was actually the third for the group. So I'll call this subject. Subject is anytime you are sending a message to someone, you should have a heading or subject at the top. And notice how I increase the spacing here just to make the subject also stand out. So and I wonder what the subject of this title is going to be. So let's just say how to design a letter cover. Yeah, I think this is looking cool. So what is going to happen is anytime you want to type in a letter, you know what? Let's just add in a line over here to make it look, it's actually going to look a lot nicer in my eyes. So let's grab the line tool, change the width to about 5 pixels, and I'll just click and drag to somewhere like so. And I'm also going to change the color, of course, to something like this. Now I'm going to have this line beneath everything else. So the name, the location, the subject, so that this is the before. You can see that it is on top, so it's showing in the red, and this is after when we bring it down. So I think I prefer it this way. So what I'm going to do is if I grab the type tool and I want to type in something, instead of just clicking one time and typing everything like so, and copy, paste, and I'll move to the next line using enter, and I'll move to the next line using enter. This is not going to be quite ideal for me, because you can see that everything is entering into the other corner. I just have to keep using enter over and over again. Now to solve this problem, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click and drag using my mouse to have something like this. So this is going to create a rectangle for me, and inside that rectangle I can paste in as many information I want, and it's never going to exceed that boundary. So you can see that if I stretch it out, it just fills it up for me. If I close it up, it closes up for me. It is always never going to exceed that. So I think that is what I should be going for. This is looking cool. Now obviously the subject is here, so we should also have that same rectangle for the actual information or the text. So I'll hold down Control, press J to create a duplicate, and I'll bring also that up here. Control G to put this up, and I'll call this probably body. So body of the information, and I'm going to also bring this down to, I should probably bring it down to somewhere around here. So you know what, let's reduce the size of the line we just created using the move tool. I'll just make it smaller like so, and with my type tool I'll also make this probably something like this, should be just fine. So in case you have any other thing like a signature or anything of that sort, you can also add it in at the bottom. And basically that is it. Since you have a fair idea of most of the things you've created so far, I'm pretty sure you will be able to add the final parts like what I'm doing right now. So basically that is it. Thank you guys for watching. If you want the exact PSD, as always I'll have it linked below. And so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like to watch more of our videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.